So you love being creative. You spend hours painting or writing, sketching, cooking, filming, designing, and you put that time into something you truly love. But at some point, you will start to think, can I actually make a living doing this? The idea of turning your creativity into a career is exciting, but it can also be quite terrifying. What if it kills my passion? What if I can't make enough money? But the truth is, there are more ways today than ever to turn your creativity into a career. Yes, there are real challenges, but today in this video, we're going to break it all down. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Tom Sargent. I used to be an engineer. I turned into a marketer because I wanted to blend creativity, storytelling, business, and human emotion into one big melting pot. Nowadays, I explore how psychology, behavior, creativity intersect to form marketing. And I'm here to share everything I know and everything I've learned with you people. And my aim is to help creators find their voice, find their meaning, and create something powerful. So if you're wondering how to turn your creativity into a career, this video is probably for you. As I just mentioned, there is no one route to turning your creativity into a career, especially today with powerful tools like the internet, social media, it becoming easier to create businesses, it becoming easier to be a freelancer, it becoming easier to work from anywhere in the world. But most of the paths can fall into sort of one of these three or four categories. So let's look at each one. Starting off, freelancing. It's probably the most direct way to monetize your creativity. Whether you're a designer, a writer, videographer, musician, artist of any sort, it's the best way for you to maintain full creative control, but add this sort of income stream to what it is that you're creating anyway. It allows you to maintain your flexible schedule, keep creating the things that you're doing, but really you're just finding a place or a business or a brand to put your creativity into and to support that. You don't get 100% free creative control, but you definitely get the most creative control out of some of the other options. The difficulty that that comes with is it can be fairly inconsistent. You don't always have a consistent source of income or a consistent source of clients. You have to go out and find them yourselves. And you now have a slight extension on what was your pure creative act in that you have a business to manage. And yeah, that can be quite difficult. I ran an agency, a marketing agency for several years. And one of the hardest things that I had to deal with when doing that was I would work on a client's, request on a client's project from 9 to 5, let's say. And then from 5 to 8 every day, I had to spend time on my business, finding new clients, finding new leads. And that can be quite a lot of work to do. So it's not necessarily the best, application for everybody. But if you want to have the maximum control over what it is that you're working on, picking and choosing the projects you're working on, freelancing is a great idea. And if you have a very established style or a very desirable sort of outcome, it can be quite easy. If you produce videos that, everybody wants to copy and everybody wants, the clients will kind of come to you, and that will be a really good place to be. It might not stay that way forever because trends change, but it's a fantastic opportunity if you find yourself in that situation. The next sort of route to turning creativity into a career, that is something that's really bubbled up in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, is the full-time content creator, or full-time creator. If you love creating things for an audience, think of stuff like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, or writing newsletters, then you already have this sort of collection of people that are interested in what it is you have to say, what it is that you have to create. So you need to find ways to turn that audience into money and revenue. That can be through sponsorships, brand deals, digital products, courses, though they're sort of on the way out a little bit these days. But it's a great way to keep doing what it is you're doing and adding on this idea of a career, an idea of making money. And some creators, this is huge. Casey Neistat, who's a videographer and a sort of filmmaker on YouTube, he has been creating content on YouTube for many, many years. And it wasn't until he'd been doing it full time for a while on YouTube that he actually turned on the monetization side of what he was doing. And it's now more than enough money for him to do it full time. It's not going to be like that for everybody. If you're very niche or, you have a much smaller audience, it will be more difficult. But it's always a good option if you're building up your audience and you're always engaging and delivering value to them. Eventually, there will become a point where you can click that button and start turning that value into revenue. Because if you make good things, people will be willing to pay you for it. The next route, one that's quite common, is the sort of entrepreneurial business route. So this is where you're building something that's bigger than just your creations. Your creations become a product and you wrap a business around them and you sell that as a brand, and you're sort of scaling your creative work into a sort of industrial form of what it is. This doesn't work for every form of creativity because some things can't really be productized in that way. They have a long lead time. For example, if you make, full feature films, you can't really meet the demand necessary to do this route. You can definitely turn that into a career, which is something we'll talk about in a minute as a filmmaker, but it's not something that is very productizable in the sense of entrepreneurship. So some of the sort of examples of this would be running an agency. If you're very good at creating user-generated content and reviewing products, you might create an agency and turn that into a system where you can review more and more products from more and more brands. You might sell your physical and digital products. If you're an artist, you might sell prints, you might sell, original pieces. If you're a software engineer, you might create an app, create a sort of SaaS product and start selling that. It's fairly common. It's what most people think of when they think of turning something that they created into a product. It's this entrepreneurial side of things. And then the fourth route is a career. And this is one where you probably have the least amount of freedom, but you might be able to still flex your creative muscles. So you might go and work as the head of marketing in a business. The business might not be related to what you are known for as a creative, but it still gives you the ability to be creative. The thing that you might enjoy as a creative is solving problems and finding new ways to articulate something. So going and becoming a marketer within an established career is a great way to keep doing that and still be a little bit creative. It's not perfect system. And after a while, you will meet this crossroads where you decide this isn't creative enough for me and I need to go and break free and go back to what I was doing before. Or you might feel comfortable that that's creative enough, but you have to find a secondary source of creativity that's outside of that original thing. It might be you start a little YouTube channel like I am as a marketer to find another way to express your creative self and personal expression. So turning your creativity into a career is definitely possible. A lot of people will fall into a couple of traps and it will make the whole situation experience much harder for them than it needs to be. So I thought I'd just talk through some of those. So the first one, and something that I felt personally, is thinking that my passion as a creative is enough. Like just being passionate about something is enough to fulfill me. But the truth is that loving what you do is great. Having these skills that you can showcase, having a strategy to put it out into the world and share it with people and being consistent and all of that. But after a while, it's not enough. Your passion dries up and you start to think, why am I doing this for someone else? Why am I following this person's dream? This isn't what I thought I would originally be doing. And when that happens to you, you basically have a decision to make. Do I keep doing this and find something else to be passionate about? Or do I stop where I am? I am truly passionate about filmmaking, or I am truly passionate about digital art. I need to stop working for this person and go back to square one and do it for myself. And the passion is just not enough to carry you through. It's not enough of a motivation to keep going. You need to actually love what it is you're doing and the reason you're doing it for. But that can be difficult. Another trap that people fall into when they start turning their creativity into a career is chasing the money and chasing the metrics too much. It's something I'm very proactively trying to avoid doing with these videos. I try not to look at the metrics and look at viewership and comments and stuff like that too much, because I want to be in that sweet spot of just enjoying creating these videos. But it's so easy to do. And I know so many people that have started with a really good, creative, something fresh, something new that they're doing. They put it out into the world. They start earning a little bit of money and start getting some of those metrics and views and subscribers back. And then they start to think, okay, how can I make more money? How can I get more views? And that happens for a few months. And then they look back at what they were creating and they look where they are now. And those two things are worlds apart. And they've traded in what they originally wanted to create for money and metrics. And yeah, it feels super unsatisfying when that happens. And you realize that you didn't find that balance. You didn't find that balance between what you were actually good at making and what people wanted. But that happens. And then the sort of third big issue that creative people have when they're trying to turn creativity into a career is that they don't market themselves well enough. They don't articulate what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. They might run an agency or they might produce artwork or a bakery or something, but they don't set themselves apart from the rest of the crowd and the rest of the people that are doing this. And they don't talk about what it is that they're bringing and their way of doing things that is so much more valuable than some of the other ways. So this is kind of a way of saying you need to sell your creative product just as much as you need to sell yourself as a creator. So yeah, ignoring these marketing and sort of business skills is not an option when you're trying to turn your creativity into a career. It's a requirement. You have to add this on. You have to play the game, unfortunately. No matter how good your art is, your recipes are, whatever, if no one sees it, you won't get paid for it. So you have to add this extra, step into the process, basically. So at this point, I wanted to put together a little, very basic framework for how you can start to turn your creativity and what it is that you're producing into a career and monetize it. This is by no means the de facto way of doing things, but no matter where you go online and you try and read things about doing this, they will include these sort of basic 3 stages in more detail maybe, but you will always find these 3 stages. So the first stage is to sit down and define what it is you actually want to achieve. You need to set yourself a goal and try and set yourself a deadline to achieve that goal. Because you can't go from creating things in this little bubble and turning that into a career in just one jump. You have to think about where it is you want to be in a year's time. It might be how many art pieces you've sold. It might be how many people have watched your content. It might be how much money you're earning. And then you need to work out, okay, if that's 365 days from now, what do I need to be doing on day 364, 363, backwards? And you basically create a roadmap for yourself to get from where you are to where you are going to be in a year's time. It doesn't have to be a year. You can do 5 years, you can do 6 months, but working out where you want to be and all the stepping stones you need to hit in order to get there is a great way to visualize and articulate what it is you need to do for yourself to get there. And then once you have that roadmap in place, the second stage is to start small and test and iterate. So if your first action you need to do is to create a social media page and put out your first piece of content, do that. And then the next stage will be your next piece of content, or the next blog post, or the next project that you work on, or the next piece that you deliver. And then between each of those stepping stones, you need to look back and go, okay, what went really well on this stage and what did I deliver good that I want to keep doing? And what could I have done better and what can I improve on? And sometimes, what should I just stop? All out together. By doing that retrospective, sort of looking into yourself and look at the way that you handled things, you can make sure that you are staying on target of where you need to be. The worst thing you can do is you set this goal for a year and you go through your stepping stones, and then at some point you don't improve. You just do the same thing over and over and over and over, and you don't see any improvement and you don't see any change. So if you're just sat there putting out the exact same type of video on social media and it's getting no traction and no response and you're getting no new clients or no new work, and then you do it again the next day and the next day and the next day, what do you expect to happen? You have to look at what it is that you're doing, what's not working, what is working, and then make the changes. Experiment. It might feel uncomfortable to do that sometimes because you might have become set in your ways a little bit. But if it's not working, you're set into bad habits and you need to look at what it is you can do to change. And then doing those changes might feel uncomfortable. You know, you might feel a bit ridiculous trying a new editing style or a new way of talking or new hooks or whatever it is. But if you don't do that, you'll be stuck at day 17 for months and months and months, or stepping stone 17, and you need to make some change. It might not work, but it's at least a change, and you've tried something, you can cross that, attempt out, try something else the next day, try something else. Eventually you will find the formula that works for you, and then you can accelerate through those stepping stones at a much better rate. The other thing that you need to do, and this is the third thing really from turning your creativity into a career, is you need to network and collaborate with other people that are trying to do the same thing. They don't have to be the big superstars in the world that you're trying to conquer. They can be just other people that are going on the same journey as you. But by collaborating, you get so many benefits. You get to learn what someone else has done that hasn't worked, but might work for you. They get to learn something that you've tried that might work for them. You get to capitalize on somebody else's network. They might have more followers than you or more engagement than you. And if you collaborate with them, you get exposure to that network. And some of those followers that are following them might like what you do as well and start following you. So you get to, share engagement essentially. And if you do this with 4 or 5 or 6 other people in your area, you're doing that 6 times. So you're getting all of this collaborative mixing, and you become known as working as a unit and a collaborative team. And you might even find a mentor out there, someone that can help guide you, that has belief in what it is that you're doing and can help you reach some of the next stepping stones. They might introduce you to the right people. They might tell you should go to this event. They might even be able to help you find funding to get these things done. But collaborating is one of human nature's and society's greatest things and greatest tools. So I think you should use it as much as you can when you're first starting out on this creative to career journey. Yeah. So those are 3 things that you can do right now to start turning your creative output into a career. The final thing I want to mention, and this goes for anything in your life, really. It's not just limited to creativity, but it's a very good saying that sticks with me all the time whenever I'm interested or nervous about doing something for the first time. And the saying is very simple. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is now. So I think it says everything it needs to. And I think it's a really good point to remember with whatever venture it is that you're looking to do. Get out there, start doing it, start experiment, create something, and you will feel so much better that you did than if you just sit on it for another week, another month, another year. Just go out there and do that. Yeah, so don't let your creativity sit on the sidelines. It can become such a big part of your life, and it can literally change the direction of your life if you let it. The best way to do that is to start today, go out there, make something, put it out into the world, and think about the next steps. Until next time.